DeMar DeRozan and the Chicago Bulls are making somewhat of a late season surge to make the play-in tournament and make the playoffs. On a back-to-back, they got the Miami Heat in their building. How would Chicago fare? Early on, they fared pretty darn well. Their dynamic duo put in some work. It's DeRozan and Levine. And then here comes the help. Kobe White going glass. Second quarter, Levine at the top of the key, getting to his spot. He had 18.7 assists. Everybody's got it going, so guess who decides to step up? How about Patrick Beverley? The Shy was calling his name. How about 14 straight points from Pat Bev? He had 17 in the game. The Bulls are putting it on the Heat. It's DeRozan beating the first half buzzer. It's 70-45. Third quarter, more of the same. Zach LaVine is his name. 27-point lead. But it's the NBA. Everybody makes a run, especially when you got a guy leading your team with as much grit as Jimmy Butler's got. And you got an all-star in Bam Adebayo. Butler had 24. Adebayo had 23. More importantly, Miami is within striking distance in the fourth. It's Max Strus lining it up and knocking it down. I would give him a bag this offseason. Strus wasn't alone. How about Tyler Herro? That three-pointer cuts the Heat deficit down to 3. Another big comeback in the NBA, maybe? Not so fast. Kobe White's 18 points to go along with DeMar DeRozan's 24 points helped propel the Chicago Bulls to a 113-99 win. They're 6-4 in their last 10. They improved to 33-37 on the season. And if the play-in tournament started today, the Bulls will be your 10th seed. I don't know what to say about Patrick Beverley at this point. Look, say what you want about Pat Bev. Two things. Number one, he keep a job. And number two, he always finds a way to invoke himself a part of a basketball game. You can say what you want about Patrick Beverley, and I probably won't deny most of what you said, but make sure you keep them two things in the conversation when you mention his name. He gonna keep a job, and he is the guy at work that is always talked about, for good or for bad. This is the dude that flirts with all the girls at work that is trying to get into everybody's business at your job. This is him. He's always a part of the conversation. When it's time to talk about him, when the bosses talk, they say, yo, this dude is something else. He is a guy that you like to have a part of your team, but at the same time, he's doing a little too much. That is Patrick Beverley. It doesn't help me in the midst of Patrick Beverley having this phenomenal game to help the Chicago Bulls win another game. By the way, they have been playing better with more passion since Patrick Beverley's been a part of this team at the deadline. Give him credit for that. Give the Chicago Bulls credit as a team, but definitely give Pat Bev some credit for what he's brought to that team. In the midst of this, important play from Patrick Beverley, I was on Twitter and I saw a couple comments from Patrick Beverley. Now, here's the thing that bothers me with Pat Bev. When you listen to him talk about the game of basketball, it's like he's playing in a different league than where everybody else is playing. Recently on Pat Bev's podcast, he said he believes that he's the best offensive rebounder in NBA history at the point guard position. I could go on and on about that. Patrick Beverley is definitely a good rebounding guard. But in fact, he's nowhere near the best offensive rebounding point guard. I don't even think about that stat enough in a game. But there's a guy by the name of Russell Westbrook that Patrick Beverley literally just played with that would have a nice stake in that fight. Guys like Magic Johnson come to mind. There are a lot of other role players that I thought made timely rebounds from the point guard position that impacted games in a big way. Rajon Rondo's another one that comes to mind that when I think offensive rebounds, I think those guys over Pat Bev. I can't think of that one moment in history where Pat Bev had this rebound that changed the game. I can't think of one personally. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm off. Let me know if you think of one. But in the midst of me looking at Pat Bev's quote about being the best offensive rebounder in the history of the league at the point guard position, another quote went viral. And another quote pulled into my algorithm from something that Pat Bev said back in October on the Draymond Green show. Now, this is ridiculous. I got to read this one to y'all. Patrick Beverley said, part of me was pissed when Marcus Smart won Defensive Player of the Year last year. I ain't going to lie, bro. I'd be a fool not to sit. From a competitive standpoint, I'd be capping, sitting on here telling you I wasn't pissed when that happened. So I look back at some numbers from Patrick Beverley's last year with the Minnesota Timberwolves. He didn't even start. Man, I went back and looked at Pat Bev's stats as a Minnesota Timberwolf in his final season and Marcus Smart stats on one of the best teams in the league in the Boston Celtics, the number 1 seed out east, in which Marcus Smart was clearly the best defender on that team. And it's not even close. Patrick Beverley was not the Defensive Player of the Year last year. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. So when I listen to Pat Bev talk on his podcast and other podcasts, it's like he's in a different league, a China league, a league on NBA 2K. I don't know what the hell he's playing. But the actual player, say what you want about him. Number 1, he keep a job. And number 2, he comes to work and finds a way to be impactful some form or fashion.